Hi everyone, this is Tim the Plane Man. Welcome to Plane Time. So we're at an exciting point with the build of the Dancing Wings Sopwith pup micro model. If you remember, before we left last time, we basically glued on the top of the fuselage here, and so I'm going to pop that off. And what that is there's the completed fuselage. So we've really made some progress here, and on top of that, we also have our cowling that fits on the front of the fuselage, and we're going to open that up too. So I'll start with that. If you remember, I twisted these rubber bands just so I could hold the planking around the cowling, and that's how it looks. So it's come together quite nicely. It's beautifully round here, and as you can see, the laminated pieces, each one slightly smaller than the other, now makes for a nice edge on the front of the cowling that we're going to make even nicer. And the simple way to do this is with the magic of sanding. Now, you don't have to do this if you want. If you're keen to get the model built and you want to go for the kind of the raw look, which doesn't look that bad, you can skip this part. But what I'm going to be doing is I'll be taking some sandpaper. This is really low tech, but this is the basics. I'll take some 400 grain sandpaper. I probably could use some rougher sandpaper, but I kind of like to make sure that I sand it down and get where I need to be slowly. And I will basically sand around this whole cowling piece on the front so that it actually forms a nice round edge. So basically I'm going to completely take off the edges on each one of those steps that are there now, round it all the way down so that this forms a completely round surface, which if you look, and I've put up a video on the playlist of a renovated Sopwith pup flying, a real one, and you can see from that picture that how that looks in reality. This is actually on the real plane is metal, and so it's smooth and it it's bent around and smoothed around, and it's very, very smooth. So it's not like that rough wood feel, even though it wouldn't look that bad on the model. I'm going to sand it round and make it all nice and smooth. And let's have a look at the other piece here. So I'll pop off everything that was holding things together. Just collect my pegs together in my little bag here. Sort of feels a little bit like an unboxing. I've been waiting for this to happen. It actually ended up being left a lot longer than I thought. You probably could get away with leaving the glue to dry that I left for a few hours. Overnight's good. It definitely is completely dry now, and actually I mean, you can't feel it, but I can feel that everything feels nice and solid. There's no kind of softness or flexibility or creakiness in anything that's happening here. Just pop those elastic bands off holding down the front piece here. So now we have a nice round, smooth edge on the front, which we're going to sand. Again, if you want to, you could leave it that kind of rough look, which is more like what they have on the front of the box. But again, the front of the plane, the real thing, was metal, and it was perfectly smooth. So as you move your finger, well, as I move my finger around here, there's a little bit of an edge where that join is, and with just a touch of sandpaper, that can be made to be a perfectly smooth join all the way around. And it might be a good idea to put maybe just a little bit of wood filler in it. We'll see, but it should be okay. And similar thing around here. So now we've got our cockpit. Everything is nice and smooth and round, and again, but with a bit of an edge where the joint is there. And if you can see on the video here, it's a little bit messy where some of the glue's dried and just left a little bit of untidiness on the edge of the model. Magic of sandpaper, and this is definitely one of the advantages of using wood glue. So that will sand away nicely and won't leave any marks. It'll look just like beautiful smooth wood if you want to leave it that way. I'd encourage you to sand. Sanding's good. Sanding will make everything look nice and smooth and clean. And then the next step after that will be, what I'm going to do is paint it. You may or may not choose to do that. It's not required. Looks nice, which is why I'm going to do it. And it's kind of fun, but yeah, you don't have to do that. So I'd be encouraging you to sand, and I'll show you the sanding as I proceed through this, and then I'll show you how it ends up looking really nice and smooth when we get to the completed fuselage ready for painting. And then what I'll do with the painting, because again, I think some people may not care, or at this point may not be interested in painting the model, because like I said, you don't have to. It will actually look pretty sweet without the painting. So I'll put that in, all the painting work that I do, in a separate video. I'll be painting the cowling as well, and the wheels, and so I'll add that all together into a separate video, so you'll be able to watch through the build and watch the painting part if you choose to, and not watch the painting part if you're not interested in that. So just one more little thing, elastic band with the peg to pop off here. They're all off, elastic bands off, and there we have beautiful looking fuselage, the fruit of our efforts over the last few days. And let's see if I can figure out how this slots on. There's two slots on the front of on the side of the cowling here, and there's two little wooden pieces here that fit into those slots. If the slots are ready to be, I think they're probably going to need just a little bit of cleaning up. That's not sliding in cleanly. So I can just show you how that's going to look. Yeah, I can feel where they're very, oh, it is going to fit. Okay, it does actually slot on. It's a little tight on this edge, so I'm not going to force it. I'm going to clean up those little pieces that slot into the holes, and then we'll have the fuselage on the front of the plane, and the cowling on the front of the fuselage, and with it, once everything's sanded down, it'll actually look very, very nice and be ready for the next step. So we'll talk about that when I'm back. All right, model builders. Well, I want to catch you up with something really important in terms of this next piece. It seemed really straight. It caught me out, and it might catch you out too. So I just want to warn you, actually it's not a problem, but it's something that needs to be solved. So if you remember, basically I pointed out that this cowling slides cleanly onto the front of this piece here. But what happened was, when I tried to do it, it wouldn't fit, because this mounting for the motor that's on the front of the fuselage actually gets in the way. What this boils down to is not reading the instructions. It's all the finest little details in the instructions are actually very important. So what you find when you follow through the instructions on the cowling piece is that after you get to this part, which is where the cowling is all together, that the cross, this piece in the middle, actually needs to come out, and so that you just have the part around the edge. So it's part of building it. You don't cut it off before you put it together, which is, I was following the instructions, and you build everything together, and now the last little piece that you get to after putting the Q, putting the J, K, M, and L and M pieces on the front, gluing the planking around the side, and then the last part, it says install the head and polish into the radian. But then after that, so kind of backwards, it actually says cut off the spare parts. Really should say cut off the spare parts first, and then you will be able to cleanly install this in here. So that's what we're going to do next. It's going to be a little fiddly, and you possibly can't see here, but there's actually, now that I look at it, and now that I'm following the instructions, inside the cowling here, there's, on each one of these T-pieces, there is a line, a marking, a laser cut piece that shows you where each one of those X pieces actually needs to be separated out from the edge. So this X in the middle, the cross in the middle, actually will come out as one complete piece. And it doesn't matter that it breaks, because it basically becomes waste, but that's what we're going to have to do next, so that's what I'll do. Alright, so we're looking at the cowling, and the trick here, which is how to remove the center cross from this without breaking anything. And I struggled a little bit trying to figure it out for a bit, and then to a certain extent by looking at the pieces, when they show on the picture how this looks, there's some pieces sort of lying on the side, and it looks a lot like they've been cut out from the middle, and it turns out that that's pretty simply the best way to do it. So all I did, took the trusty X-Acto knife here, scored it a little bit just to weaken that each one of the arms of the cross, and then basically slice it through. And if this works okay, yeah, I'm gonna try that now. I don't think I've done enough scoring, but you just score it through a little bit, just a little bit of basically sort of mark a line, run the knife down to sort of hopefully get it through a little bit through the arm. You need a nice sharp knife. This is a brand new one, just happened to have a brand new one lying around, which is where I came up with the idea. And then you just want to slice that through. Have a nice piece. Of course, be careful not to cut your fingers. But there you go. It basically slices through, and the piece, that extra piece that I said where there was the laser cut part along the edge there, that just basically pops out. It's actually pretty clean. So again, not obvious for the instructions how that's supposed to work, but that actually does work, and you know, I didn't feel like I was risking breaking anything. The other option I thought of was to get a Dremel with a blade and sort of cut through each one of those one at a time, and I didn't do that because, well, A, I don't have the right blade for my tool, and the second one is, well, I thought that maybe not everybody has that, so I thought I'd see it come up with something that'll work. So I'm just going to do the same thing with the other two, and you can see that will then come out cleanly. In fact, the last two arms, I should have kept the video running. The last two arms just popped out while I was scoring. I guess the laser cut on the edges had really done a good job, and so when I was just scoring to try and, you know, mark out the piece where I was going to cut, that just popped off. So we can see we actually have it quite nicely. So what I wanted to do is quickly show you, if I can, maybe doing this on camera first time, but now this piece should actually clip on nicely and fit cleanly. You know, I still have a little bit of trimming to do on those tags on the side, but that's how it's supposed to look. See that? That looks beautiful, actually. And with a little bit of cleaning up, that'll fit cleanly in place. So I'll just mention the other thing about this too. Following the instructions, the magnets, and there's 3 magnets, so this is where the larger magnets are. the magnets go in these slots here to hold this onto the front. Right? And also to give you access later on by just popping off the magnets when you need to get into the front where the motor is on the plane. Well, I didn't put the magnets in following the instructions. They should have been popped in earlier. Interestingly, it doesn't show, as far as I can see, following through the instructions, where the magnets on the front part should have been popped on. I'm just going to go back because I'm wondering if I missed something, but I don't think I did. Yeah, there's nowhere here, anywhere through building that mounting, or anywhere through the install on here where it shows or says anything about popping those magnets in. And yet we get to the point at the end where they are already there. So yeah, and yet when building this piece, the first part about building this part here was to put the magnets in, and I'm quite happy about that, because as I mentioned to you earlier about magnets, you've got to be very careful about the polarity of the magnets, making sure you have the right ends in the right places. So what we're going to need to do is to make sure each one of these magnets is installed as a pair. There's one magnet here, and that magnet has to match this top hole here on the cowling, and you have to have the right end of the magnet in so that when you push it on, it clicks. And the same thing with the one down here on the bottom. Over here, each one of those has to match the respective magnets with the right way round. If you put it in the wrong round, it'll just throw itself off when you try to install the magnets on here. So now I'm not sure if other people have magical ways to deal with magnets on the installs. I'll do a little bit of video research and see if I can find someone who's solved this problem ahead of me, maybe better than I plan to. But my simple answer will be that what I'm going to do is put the magnets in, like I said, split the magnets off the magnet stack that's in the little plastic bag, 2 at a time, mark each side with a Sharpie so that it's hopefully a permanent mark, and then stick them in so that the marked side is down here, and that the marked side is down here, and then I should end up with the magnets all being in the right direction so that it slides on nicely onto the outside of the model here. And just to point out that while I've been working on this, I'm doing a little bit of sanding to sort of sand down the edge, and not so much on that side. So there's some work required to make that happen, but it's all going to come together quite well. So that's there's the story about popping these pieces out of the middle here. It was a question of literally slicing that cross out of the middle of the cowling after it's all together and complete. Then the cross comes out, and then we have it.